Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Terence Crawford. He and Canelo Alvarez have stirred up a hornet's nest. This being fight week. One of the most anticipated fight weeks in a very, very, very long time. Many would argue Crawford and Canelo are the two best fighters in the sport. Of course, we got Usyk out there, but remember, just a conversation. You're entitled to your own facts, but we're just having a conversation. So enjoy the content. That being said, like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Leave that donation for that fried rice and chicken wings. But become a member to the channel. You really want to help? Let's try to get about 2,000 or 3,000 people to become members to the channel. That shit will keep this channel alive, and trust me, it'll get better. But back on Crawford. There are a lot of strong rumors floating around. And remember, they're just rumors. But we got to talk about it. This surgery that he had years ago, now all of a sudden he's having a flare-up. He's having problems. Then with Canelo looking dehydrated, looking super small. Many fans are concerned that what we're going to get this weekend is going to be a dud of a fight now. If Crawford's injured, Canelo's dehydrated, we can't possibly see both of them at 100%. And Crawford showing off his abilities out of both stances with the added functional mass. We can't see Canelo show off all of his abilities with the new streamlined physique, improved stamina, and mental fortitude. But what do we really get with Terence Crawford? Okay, now you've got to understand. He had an arthroscopic repair years ago. But the aftermath of that is really has people talking. Now, the surgery happened to his left shoulder several years ago, and the surgery was to repair structural damage. Now, the team didn't really elaborate too much, but what's being reported is that Terence Crawford most likely had a torn labrum or rotator cuff. Now, let me just tell you, I don't know much about having a torn labrum, but I can tell you from a rotator cuff. You see this right shoulder right here? This shit, I had rotator cuff surgery, and I had the bicep tendon reattached right here. And it took me about a year to recover, and even to this day. And this is in 2000 and I retired in 2018. So 2018, like January, February 2018, I had the surgery. So here we are in 2025. And is it better? Yeah, it is, because I was messed up. I was messed up. But I'm still not brand new. You'll never get back to being the way God made you. You know what I'm saying? Once you have surgery and they cut on you and dig on you and shave shit down, they can't put you back the way God made you. But what I can tell you is, I'm very careful with this, and I do have some lingering effects, and I do have a little bit of discomfort, but overall, I don't have the pain that I had. You know what I mean? But when it comes to what Terence Crawford, what he had, I don't think he had a rotator cuff surgery, because if he did, maybe it wasn't to repair his like they had to repair mine. But arthroscopy is minimally invasive, but it still involves shaving away torn tissue and repairing cartilage or tendons. And this is what Terence Crawford could have had done. Now, in the months after surgery, normally fighters often regain full range of motion, but microscopic scar tissue can linger for years. I have scar tissue, and I also developed scar tissue adhesion. So when they talk about that range of motion, I didn't have that. I had to go to physical therapy, and I had to just, listen. But that shit is a long, arduous process. You gotta have patience. Patience I don't have. So I was doing shit I wasn't supposed to be doing. But anyway, we got beyond it. But when you look at a guy like Terence Crawford, if in fact scar tissue had developed and has been lingering around and he's been fighting, that could be why the man's fighting once a year. Could be why he fights in a southpaw stance. If he had surgery on his left shoulder, he probably really said, I'm going to focus more on fighting the southpaw stance, because having that lead hand as his left hand, which he's naturally right-handed, and just throwing it so much is probably exacerbating the scar tissue and exacerbating that surgery. You know what I'm saying? Probably creating a little bit more discomfort than what he wants to feel. I don't know that. Remember, we just have conversations on this channel. But the bottom line is that scar tissue, it can tighten, it can rub, or it can even catch under the acromion, or the shoulder bone, causing periodic pain or discomfort when the arm is rotated or loaded. Now, when you understand that, Terence Crawford had the surgery, supposed to be minimally invasive. However, scar tissue can develop, and it can tighten, rub, or catch under the shoulder bone, causing periodic pain or discomfort when the arm is rotated or loaded. That could explain what is going on in the camp. And Crawford, who's training, and whether he's training out of both stances or he's a southpaw with the jab as a right hand and trying to throw that left, whatever he's doing, that could be what they're talking about. But again, remember, we don't know this. Crawford dismissed that shit with the quickness, you know what I'm saying? But I wonder, where's the source that came out and reported Crawford was having some issues with the flare-up from that shoulder surgery? Could be a YouTuber who just threw some shit to the wind and got us all talking about it. But anyway, it is what it is. But for those of you who are saying, well, hey, if he had the surgery years ago and he's all healed up, he shouldn't have any flare-ups. Well, I'll tell you what, there is a potential for flare-ups after all these years. Even a perfectly healed arthroscopic repair can flare up under the stresses of elite boxing training. Heavy bag work, I'm telling you 100%. They're not lying. I am telling you, man. Hitting that speed bag, I'm just telling you what I know, what I feel. Okay, and that shit Crawford and those guys are doing as professional boxers is on a whole nother level. But I'm telling you, man, when I'm working with my sons and we're messing around, and if I come in, I hit a heavy bag and shit, man, I put it this way, I don't throw with the kind of power and force like I used to throw it, because that shit just doesn't feel that good. You know what I mean? But then again, I'm not as active on all that shit like I used to be. So, I got a lot of natural soreness and tenderness and shit. I kind of been turned into a little bit of a marshmallow, you know what I mean? Since I'm not in the gym like that. I run and lift weights, but I ain't hitting no punching back like that, so I'm going to have a lot of soreness. But I just know if any reason Crawford had any little bit of discomfort or any little bit of issues with that left hand or that left shoulder, I can just say the heavy bag work, repetitive punching, clinch drills, and that can irritate repaired tissues. And this could be what it is. He probably has some inflammation. That probably has inflammation. Now, symptoms might include a dull ache deep in the joint, sharp twinges on rotation, and a sensation of grinding when Crawford throws certain hooks or uppercuts. On long mitt sessions or in late sparring rounds, he may feel weakness in his lead arm or slower snap on his jab. Those signs suggest the joint is under duress. Nothing catastrophic, but enough to force adjustments and for them to have controlled sparring, controlled mitt work, controlled training. Control. Isn't that the word that floating around there about how Bomac been running that camp? Now, as far as type of pain and functional trouble, look, if in fact he had a labrum repair. When a labrum repair flares, fighters describe two main complaints: pain at in-range motion and reduced stability under load. Crawford might feel pinching on arm abduction above shoulder height or soreness when winding up for hooks. Rotator cuff issues can manifest as burning pain on the outside of the shoulder or sharp tugs when he fires overhand rights. If the shoulder isn't lubricating smoothly, he could experience an audible crack during rapid stance changes. All of these can blunt punch resistance and defensive reflexes. Just reading that, you know that's some shit that you want to hope Crawford's not experiencing and Crawford's going through. We know all fighters, they enter the ring with injuries. But you definitely want to enter the ring with Canelo, even though Canelo looking light, looking dehydrated. You don't want to come in there, man, having pain and discomfort and you're not comfortable letting your shots go. Because Canelo, just like Crawford makes the right reads, Canelo going to read that shit immediately and say, hey, this guy is hurt. And he's just going to start banging at that shoulder. Canelo's not going to start headhunting. He's just going to keep beating up Crawford's body and arms and shoulders. And he could beat him into submission. But the reality is that could affect his camp. So if Crawford's shoulder, if it aggravates his coaches, man, they'll have to dial back volume on left lead combinations. Controlled. There goes that word again. You'll have to tweak pad routines to limit overhead slamming and swap in more light contact sparring. Therapy sessions will be ultrasounds, laser, anti-inflammatory injections. They become more frequent to control that pain. Overloading the repair risks a setback that could cost rounds in camp. That means less conditioning time, fewer power rounds, and more ice. It's a delicate balancing act. Maintain peak readiness without provoking a training camp injury. What I just read to you is exactly what it sounds like Crawford's camp has been. Now remember, we're just having a conversation. So don't tell me I'm wrong. I don't want no one to tell me I'm right. I just want you to enjoy the conversation and add to it. But now we're here in fight week. There are going to be some fight week implications. He gets in that ring. Now you talk about pain versus the adrenaline masking the pain. So now that we're in fight week, Crawford, more than likely if there's some pain there, he's going to mask it with adrenaline. But trust me, pain still plays a role. You might see him, man, showing favoritism, man, to right-hand jabs in warm-ups, keeping his left at mid-range, or test punches slowly in the final mitt work. So we got to watch to see, how is Crawford nursing that left arm? If he's nursing it, there's something wrong. But if taping or kinesio strip appear at the hotel, that's a red flag. If they have taping and shit on that shoulder, them kinesio strips on that shoulder, better pay attention. When the bell rings, adrenaline can bury pain, but the joint's lubricating fluid will thin under rapid punching, making late round flare-ups more likely. A sour shoulder might force Crawford to rely on footwork instead of his trademark counters. Fans don't want to see that shit, I tell you that. Next thing you know, he could turn to a Jamel Charlo in there. But as far as his stance switching and tactical protection, Crawford's famed switch hitting becomes more than a stylistic flourish. It's a protective tool. By shifting southpaw, he converts his healthy right shoulder into the lead for jabs and hooks, giving the left a brief rest. When orthodox, he can mask painful angles by throwing fewer left crosses and 1-2 combos that emphasize the right rear. His ability to fight off both stances makes it harder for Canelo to set up one power shot. Each stance change buys his shoulder a fraction of recovery time mid-fight. And all that sounds good until you realize that Canelo's going to probably just be banging at his body and arms anyway. So I don't see how Crawford can go round after round after round and just avoid Canelo's shots that Canelo loads up on to Crawford's arms and body. So the fact that they're talking about him possibly switching to southpaw, does that help the injured shoulder? I mean, look, man, fighting southpaw means Crawford's compromised left shoulder is usually primarily as a rear hand for power shots rather than constant jabbing. The lead right does most of the work early, reducing repetitive strain on the left. In that stance, the left only fires in short, explosive bursts, which tends to stress the repair less than endless jab rotations. And what I mean by jab rotations is the jab, which is the best, the most dangerous and the best punch in boxing. But you know what's interesting is he can also angle his left upward, favored for uppercuts, without slamming it into the target horizontally, where the repair might be more vulnerable, you know what I'm saying? So the angle on how he lets shots go too could either help him or hurt him if he has a lot of discomfort in that shoulder. So what's interesting to me is why the team won't release the full medical report. You know what I mean? Why won't they? Because I did some research. I couldn't really find much on it. But what I will say is, from what I found, is that Crawford's camp has kept surgical details, the specific ones, private for good reasons. They don't want anyone to know about Terence Crawford. They don't want to give anybody an upper hand. Okay? Because a fighter's health records are confidential first and foremost, and full disclosure provides opponents with strategic ammunition. If Canelo's team knew the exact nature of the repair, they could tailor against it. And you know what Canelo and his team are going to do? They're going to target punches known at weak angles of cranking the shoulder into clinch. Mike Tyson right there. By releasing only that a prior arthroscopic repair occurred, Crawford's team strikes a balance, acknowledging the history without giving away the playbook. That's crazy, man. You got to wonder about how this is impacting Crawford's psychology and also Canelo's psychology, you know, and the overall, you know, mind games between these opponents. You know, fight week whispers. You know, that I just read about this shit like 2 days ago. But there have been fight week whispers of a lingering shoulder injury, and I think that's part of a psychological chess match. Canelo's camp may plant stories about Crawford favoring one arm in sparring, hoping to coax him into predictable patterns. Crawford hears the chatter, which can provoke anxiety or overcorrection in the ring. Managing that mental noise, staying confident in a surgically strengthened joint becomes as crucial as physical preparation. If Crawford believes the shoulder is bulletproof, yeah, he may fight like it's bulletproof to prove a point. You know what I'm saying? But this is the one thing that I just think Crawford can't do. Crawford and his team has got to stick to the game plan, stick to what they've worked on in training camp. And if they know that they're not injured, just fight your fight. But if in fact there is some kind of flare-up and some kind of shit going on with Crawford, I don't know what Bomac and his team going to do, because let me tell you something. I'm just telling you from experience. I don't know what exactly Crawford's feeling, but I'm just telling you, man. I actually had that shit done, rotator cuff surgery. I had it done, and the bicep tendon reattached to my right arm. I was supposed to have it to my left arm. I just never went back in because I don't want to go through that shit. It's got to be life or death for me. Life or death. I don't care how much pain I'm in. I got to be dying. Then, you know, do whatever you got to do. Get them scalpels, get all that shit. Get your chisel, get your jackhammer, whatever you got to do. And break my shit up. But if it's not life or death, I ain't going through that shit again. Hell no. All that goddamn, what would they give me when I came home? Morphine or some shit? That shit knocks you out, man. You don't want that. The people get addicted to that shit. I took it when the first day. I think it was morphine. I can't remember what they gave me. Percocets Maybe it was Percocets. But all I know is I took it for like a day. I stopped taking that shit. I took it, it knocks you out. And as far as pain, I didn't have that much pain after the surgery. You know, you move around, then you feel it. But, you know, you just got to... I had a bag of frozen peas and shit, put it on my shoulder, right shoulder. But you just have to... You got to be careful. But I'll just tell you this, man. If Crawford's left shoulder seizes mid-round and his counter slow and his ring mobility shrinks, he might circle less. You know, he may have to hold his ground, stand taller, or he's going to have to clinch more frequently than what we're used to seeing to protect the joint. But if he starts doing that stuff, Canelo is going to sense vulnerability. You better believe that. And Eddie Reynoso is going to see it. And then Canelo is going to be like, yo, he's going to target the body and head of the damaged side with torquing liver shots or overhand lifts. And the corner would have to bandage and ice between rounds. And let me tell you, you don't want to see that if you're Crawford's team. You don't want to see that shit happening. Because all that's going to do is attune Canelo and his team to, hey, go for that target. And I'm telling you, Crawford's human. He's human. And that, let me tell you, that shit could disrupt everything. Everything. But in that scenario, Crawford's volume advantage evaporates and the fight tilts towards Canelo Alvarez. And that's just the facts, you know what I mean? Even a dehydrated Canelo. He gets in the ring and Crawford is in pain and shit like that. And his volume decreases and he can't move the way he wants and he got to clinch. That's going to give Canelo motivation. That, you know, boxing, that shit is mental. You watch a guy be dead tired in a boxing match. Dead tired getting his ass beat. Then he just throws a shot from the heavens and it lands. All of a sudden, he has green light go. All gas, no brakes. Plenty energy. Because this shit's mental. Anyway, man, with Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, I'm about to go jogging. I'm about to get the magic vest on and go run. Yo, good luck to Terence Crawford. But damn, that's crazy at the possibility of this man getting into the biggest fight of his career and possibly being injured. Remember, I don't know if it's true or not. I'm just saying. The fact that that's come up, just not good. But if there's nothing wrong with him, he's going to fight his fight, and we all going to sit back and get something great. Just like with Canelo. If he's, you know, a little bit dehydrated to make the weight, but he rehydrates and he comes in the ring and he's back, he's normal like he normally is, we're going to get a really good fight, and there shouldn't be any excuses from anybody. Y'all keep cool. Time for me to go exercise. I got to take my son's alto saxophone to a damn music store to get something tightened up on it. So I got to get in the breeze right now, right? Keep cool. Become a member to the channel. Appreciate your support. In the breeze.